Before we get on to the video, do me a favor and hit the like button, it greatly helps out the channel. Also, while you're down there, subscribe for more. Now back to the video. Later that night, Yigang and the others set up camp. Noong approached Yigang and Leon and he reported that they will arrive tomorrow, so for tonight, they will have to sleep out here. Yigang and Leon expressed that they were fine with this, and before walking away, Noong told Yigang that he would take the chairs out and put the blankets down so Yigang could sleep inside the carriage. Yigang was taken aback. He expressed that he doesn't need all that. Leon grabbed a blanket and she expressed that Yigang should cover himself with it from now on. Yigang turned to her with a puzzled expression on his face, and he told Leon that he doesn't need it since it's not that cold. Seongchan started laughing. He teased Yigang, saying they are probably worried about him since he is so fragile. Yigang remarked that he is not that weak, and he expressed to Seongchan that Noong and Leon are overwhelming him. One of the clan workers approached Yigang with a bowl of soup. The worker expressed that it's not much, but he hoped Yigang would accept the meal. The worker begged Yigang to bear with it if it's not up to his standards, since he will be able to have a better meal tomorrow. Yigang took the bowl, saying this much is a luxury, and as he ate, he expressed that the soup was good. Hearing this almost brought the worker to tears. The worker covered his mouth with his hands, and he thanked Yigang for the kind words. Seongchan turned to Yigang, questioning how picky Yigang was for the worker to be reacting this way. Yigang nervously shifted his gaze to the side, and he recalled how childish he had been acting towards the workers of the Beak clan. Yigang told Seongchan that back then when he was trying to act like an immature kid, whining about stuff like food or blankets was the easiest thing he could do. Later in the night, two Beak clan workers were on guard when they were suddenly attacked by a boar. The commotion woke Yigang and Noong up. After seeing the boar, Yigang smiled, and he noted that a barbecue party just walked in on its own. Noong turned to Yigang, and he asked him to stay behind him. Afterwards, Noong called out Pil Hwan and Ma Young to attack the boar. Instantly, two Beak clan workers rushed at the boar, and they started cutting it down. As this went on, Noong felt movement behind him. He turned, asking if Yigang is scared. However, to his surprise, Yigang had taken a defensive stance, as if he was preparing to cut something down. This confused Noong, but suddenly a boar, who had sneaked up on them, attacked. Noong quickly took a defensive stance, and he expressed that he never expected that there would be another one. The boar roared, and it rushed at Yigang and Noong at full speed. Yigang took a deep breath, and he resolved himself to get this one. However, before he could attack, Leon came out of nowhere. She elegantly moved through the sky, and she swiftly dealt with the boar. And as she returned to the ground, Seongchan told Yigang to take a good look at Leon's Chingrim cloud treading technique. He expressed that that is how you use Kinggong. Yigang was amazed. He spoke out loud saying, "So that's the cloud treading technique that I have heard so much about." He added that Leon really did move like she was stepping on clouds, like the rumors stated. Noong was taken aback. He couldn't believe that Yigang was able to recognize Leon's Kinggong method in this situation. Noong became immersed in his thoughts, and he recalled that Yigang was already looking in the direction the boar came from, before it came through. It seemed like Yigang knew the boar was coming even before he did. Noong recalled that Yigang asked him to teach him swordsmanship in the month it would take to get to Chingrim. Noong stared at Yigang, who was wondering how good boar meat will taste, and he started wondering if maybe Yigang will be able to learn the swordsmanship that Hajun couldn't. The next day at a small village near Lanshan, Yigang and the others dropped the bodies of the boars in front of the chief's house. The chief was taken aback. He expressed that a boar of this size is really rare, yet Yigang and his party was able to catch two of them. The chief remarked that Yigang and his party must be an amazing group of people. Noong interjected. He told the chief that they are here to sell the meat, and he expressed that they plan to leave it to the chief for him to take care of it. Noong pulled out a silver coin, and he reached forth his hand, saying they would like to stay the night as well. This further surprised the chief. He held his hand out to accept the silver coin nervously, and he expressed that they don't have much, but Yigang and the others can make themselves comfortable. After accepting the coin, the chief stated that he remembered that Noong mentioned that they are heading southwest. He told them that if that's the case they will arrive at a village in about 4 to 5 days. However, he warned them to be careful, because he has been hearing a lot of scary rumors about that place these days. Yigang became curious, and he asked the chief about the rumors. The chief told Yigang that apparently several people have died from a tiger attack. The chief added that he also heard that famous hunters have been called to take care of the tiger. However, he wasn't sure if they have gotten the beast yet. Yigang was concerned about the tiger, however that concern quickly faded, as he remembered that he was traveling with Noong and Leon. Yigang thanked the chief for the advice, and they headed to a nearby tavern. The next day at the crack of dawn, Yigang and Noong went to the courtyard to do some training. Before they started, Noong handed Yigang a new sword. Yigang grabbed the sword, and as he unsheathed it to check the quality, he questioned why Noong was giving him a new sword when he already had one. Noong sighed, and he told Yigang that his current sword is too big and heavy, and that the new sword will be better for training. Seongchan was taken aback that Noong even took that into consideration, and he remarked that Noong is a very nice man. Noong continued on. He told Yiging that he wouldn't be able to teach him the Heaven and Earth Blade, since that kind of precise sword technique requires more than a month to learn. So instead he proposed that Yiging learn the technique of the place he used to serve. Yiging was surprised. He asked Noong if he means the techniques of the Shadowless Sword Pavilion. Noong was surprised, and he spoke saying, "So you know of that place." In the past, the Shadowless Sword Pavilion was a sect that was renowned throughout Niram. They were famous for their stealthy breathing and very fast sword techniques. The sect's downfall began after one of their disciples stole the Wuding sect's generational secret and ran off. The Miram Alliance abandoned the Shadowless Sword Pavilions to their enemies, and the sects who had been close to them also turned their backs on them. The Shadowless Sword Pavilion members began to lose their positions in the Jianghu, and one by one they all left. That is how the Shadowless Sword Pavilion fell. Yiging was concerned. He questioned if it's okay for him to learn the techniques of that sect. Noong expressed that it should be fine, since he was just going to teach Yiging one technique. Noong started walking away from Yiging, and he asked him to watch closely. Yiging observed Noong, wondering how he is supposed to see anything when Noong has his back turned towards him. Yiging voiced his concerns, expressing to Noong that he can't see the technique when he is turned. But as Yiging said this, Noong unsheathed his sword, and he spun around, faster than the eye can see, cutting halfway through a leaf that was falling beside Yiging's neck. Yiging was left speechless, his eyes widened with shock, and he thought to himself, questioning what that was. He remarked that he couldn't see Noong's movements at all. Noong spoke. He told Yiging that just now was just a small trick, but if Yiging would like, then he would teach it to him. Xiangchen chuckled. He expressed that calling that technique a small trick is a blatant lie, and he told Yiging that Noong was trying to teach him the Shadowless Sword Pavilion's generational secret technique. The downfall of the Shadowless Sword Pavilion was decided the moment one of their disciples stole the Wuding sect's secret. But the most decisive moment was the unorthodox sect and the demon cult members' ambush. During the ambush, the leader of the Shadowless Sword Pavilion suffered a fatal injury. During his final moment, the leader of the Shadowless Sword Pavilion told Noong that even though the sect will fall, it will continue to live on through them. He told Noong to forget about rebuilding the sect, but to instead live for himself, and later on find someone who could inherit the Shadowless Sword Pavilion techniques. Noong held his master's hand as he breathed his final breath, and he expressed with teary eyes that he will follow his instructions. Just like that, the Shadowless Sword Pavilion disappeared. However, the unorthodox faction's chase did not stop. They continued to chase after Noong, who was on the run, and Noong slayed many unorthodox faction members throughout all of the Jianghu as he ran. His kill count became so high that he earned the nickname Crimson Demon Supreme Sword. However, Noong couldn't run away forever. One night, in the mountains, Noong was ambushed. And if he hadn't met Beak Ryusen that night, then he would have died then and there. After Ryusen dealt with Noong's assailants, Noong spoke. He told Ryusen that he shouldn't waste his time here. Ryusen was confused. He turned and glared at Noong, questioning what he meant. Noong explained that he already burnt the Wuding sect's secret. He expressed that it's in his head. However, he stated that he will never tell Ryusen. This was a lie, and as he struggled to stand, he resolved himself, since this would be his last lie. Ryusen sheathed his sword, expressing that he doesn't need the Wuding sect's secret. He remarked with a smug look on his face that he has the Heaven and Earth Blade and the immortal divine arts as well, and in mocking tone, he questioned why he care about the lowly Wuding sword technique. Ryusen added that he only interfered because he thought it was a rather unfair fight. Noong was taken aback. He looked up at Ryusen with a puzzled expression on his face. This was how Noong came to own Ryusen in his life, and how he entered the Beak clan. In the present, Noong became immersed in his thoughts. Right now he is a loyal subject of the Beak clan. However, he noted that he also has a duty to pass down the secrets of the Shadowless Sword Pavilion. One can only learn the techniques of the Shadowless Sword Pavilion if they are born with sharp senses and concentration. Noong couldn't teach Hajun because he wasn't fit for it, but if it's Yiging, who has shown that he has sharp senses because of his Kai blockage, then. As he said this, he turned to Yiging, who had caught the leaf that he sliced halfway, and he noted that Yiging might be able to learn it. Noong left, and he returned a short while later with a crate of apples. And after setting the crate down, Noong picked one apple up, and he told Yiging that they will start with the very basics, and train his senses first. Noong explained that Yiging just has to catch the apple he is going to throw at him, while standing with his back towards him. Before they started, Noong gave Yiging some advice. He told him to imagine that he is trying to feel the breathing and sword of the opponent standing behind him, and added that Yiging has to feel even the falling leaves around him. Noong explained that this is the essence of this sword technique. Yiging was taken aback. He questioned if this wasn't just a small technique like Noong stated, and he wondered why he needs to be capable of doing all that. Noong cleared his throat, and he quickly moved past the question, stating that Yiging needs to try and see what can't be seen. As Yiging turned around, he told Xiangchen that this is similar to the Taiyin Meridian. Xiangchen nodded in agreement. He expressed that it's a bit rougher than the Taiyin Meridian. but the technique seems like its purpose is divine abilities. After Yiging turned around, Noong pulled back his arm, and before throwing, he shouted that he is going to throw the apple now. Later in the afternoon, Yiging was hit in the face with an apple. He hunched over and he started rubbing his nose, expressing that it's not easy. Noong chuckled. He told Yiging that it's impressive that he was able to recognize when the apple is being thrown, and to be able to turn around in time after just half a day of training. Yiging started laughing too, and he expressed that maybe it was a bit selfish of him to want to learn the Shadowless Sword Pavilion's divine arts so quickly. Noong nodded in agreement, and as he was expressing how long it took him to get it, Yiging interjected. He crossed his arm, stating that he caught Noong. Then he asked him to tell him the name of the technique. Noong was taken by surprise, however he couldn't lie to Yiging this time, so he came clean, and he told Yiging that this technique is called Light Without Shadow. Yiging repeated the name to himself. It seemed like a rather significant technique, so he questioned why Noong was trying to downplay it. Noong covered his mouth and cleared his throat. He told Yiging that he was downplaying the technique because the world will not be able to recognize the name of the technique. Noong added that he was going to get permission from the Patriarch if Yiging took interest in the technique, so that he could be more serious about teaching him. Yiging interjected. He asked Noong to wait, and after taking out his ear plugs, he expressed that he can't tell what Noong is saying if he covers his mouth. Noong was shocked. He asked Yiging when he put the earplugs in his ears, and Yiging told him that he had them in since the first time he threw the apple. Noong couldn't believe his ears. Yiging shouldn't have been taught to lip read, yet he was conversing with him this entire time without missing a beat by lip reading. And on top of that, he was able to recognize that an apple was flying at him without hearing or seeing. Noong's face lit up, and in an excited tone, he expressed that they should try the training again, but this time without the earplugs. Yiging reluctantly questioned if they should really try the training again. Then suddenly Leon called out to Yiging. She walked out of the house and she informed Yiging that the medicine was ready, however she expressed in a concerned tone that he should hurry. Yiging turned to Leon with a blissful smile on his face, and he asked if his medicine was done already. Afterward he turned to Noong and he expressed that they should continue tomorrow. Noong reluctantly agreed, and as Yiging and Leon entered the building, Noong observed them while immersed in his thoughts. He guessed that Yiging is a different kind of genius from Hajun, however he noted that Yiging is the perfect person to learn the Light Without Shadow technique. As the two entered the building, Yiging questioned why it seemed like Leon was in a hurry, and he wondered if something was wrong. Leon didn't know how to tell Yiging, so she turned his attention forward. Yiging glared forward with a distraught look on his face, questioning what he was witnessing right now. Inside the building, the Beak clan workers were busy trying to warn off some animals. Leon started sweating nervously, and she expressed that she thinks the medicine has a scent that the animals are attracted to. Seongchan told Yiging that he did hear that the herbs used in the medicine can only be found on cliffs, because it attracts animals when it blooms. As Yiging helped usher out the animals, he turned to Seongchan, and he questioned why he was telling him this now. Yiging added that the boars from yesterday were probably also attracted by the herb. Seongchan cleared his throat. He told Yiging that he didn't mention it, because he tends to forget the trivial things when he has a lot on his mind. Yiging recalled the tiger from the rumors, and he became concerned. He asked Seongchan if the tiger from the rumor would come after them because of the herb's smell. Seongchan told Yiging that it's possible, since tigers are able to smell their prey from miles away. A thought came to mind, and Yiging's concerns quickly flew out the window. He expressed that since they are calling the tiger Great Tiger, it must have great inner core energy. As he thought about the inner core of the tiger in the rumors, Yiging started salivating from the mouth. Seongchan was repulsed by the fact that his descendant was salivating from the mouth while thinking about the inner core of a tiger. He turned to him with an uncomfortable smile on his face, and he asked Yiging if he would be fine with getting bitten to death as he tried to obtain the tiger's inner energy. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then hit the like button.